Hello again. I'm Sherwood Lingenfelter, and this is my second lecture on Gert Hofstede and the values with regard to national cultural profiles. The purpose of my lecture today is to take you deeper into Hofstede's work to help you understand better how your national culture may influence your personal values and your practice of ministry. Once again, I'll be pointing out how Hofstede builds upon the key value constructs common in the social sciences and employs substantive statistical data to show how people are similar and different in the various nations of the world. I will also continue to point out the overlap between national cultural profiles and the basic values profile that you have done personally for this class. If you will open again the PowerPoint lectures that you had for last week, I will go through those lecture slides to help you with this lecture. Slide number 4 in this series, Power Distance, represents one of Hofstede's most original contributions to the study of cultural values and leadership. Hofstede defines power distance as the appropriate and acceptable inequity between leaders and followers in a culture. Cultures that prefer small power distance reject significant gaps between leader and follower. These societies prefer flat organizational structures. Cultures that prefer large power distance accept large inequalities and separation between leaders and followers. There are many societies in the world in which this is a key value. If you look carefully at slide number 4, you will see that small power distance societies emphasize achievement for the granting of recognition and status, while as large power distance societies emphasize ascribed status of position and role. These pick up, again, the values from the basic values on ascribed or achieved status. Hofstede elaborates further on how work and values vary for teachers, boss, or blue and white collar labor. You should look carefully at those details. Slide number 5 shows how Hofstede also ranks nations on their power distance index. And the surprise here is that the United States is now in the middle third on the small power distance side of the chart. On this variable, the United States 40 and Japan 54 are now very close. And Austria, a European nation, is at the bottom of the power index scale with 11. In contrast, Malaysia 104, Guatemala 95, and the Philippines 94 have the highest power indices in the world. The national power distance value has very significant implications for ministry. As a rule of thumb, the structures and governance of local churches most often mirror the power distance of the national cultures in which they are found. This means that local values about ascribed and achieved status and about power distance are profoundly important in the leadership of ministries. This is also an area in which people find it very difficult to accept the values of others. As a consequence, the partnership between Americans and the people from large power distant nations are often fraught with conflict and misunderstanding. Yet, the same could be true for Germany and the United States, in that Americans prefer larger power distance than Germans do. Slide 6 presents a summary of Hofstede's value of uncertainty avoidance. This is a new set of variables. In the basic values profile, we present this variable as concealing or exposing vulnerability. For Hofstede, those with strong uncertainty avoidance conceal vulnerability in most situations. In those societies, to be different is dangerous, error is intolerable, and uncertainty should be avoided at all cost. Those taking a more casual view of uncertainty, the weak side, readily expose their vulnerability. They experience relatively low stress in new or uncertain situations, and curiosity is something that is desired and accepted. Move on again to slide 7. Slide 7 presents the uncertainty avoidance index for a selected group of nations. Once again, we see the United States in the middle third of the sample, with close scores to Britain, Indonesia, and South Africa. In contrast, you see that Greece, Poland, and Guatemala have the highest uncertainty avoidance scores in the world. And Singapore, Jamaica, and China are among the lowest in the world. Once again, this variable has serious implications for those involved in cross-cultural ministries. Because uncertainty may carry such high emotional value, churches and teams need to think about their position on this question and explore carefully the value of others as they plan and carry out cooperative ministries. Slide 8 presents a different look at what we've called crisis non-crisis. If you look at slide 8, Hofstede's categories are short-term and long-term orientation. And these variables examine different facets of this complex human value. The short-term orientation demands quick results, spending what you must to get it done, and concern with status and obligation. If you think about it, such values are very common in American society. In a crisis, we want to deal with it and get it done quickly, no matter what the cost. The long-term orientation focuses less on crisis and more on the end game. Circumstances are continually changing, so adaptation for the long term is essential. Perhaps most important, my personal goals must be sacrificed for the long-term objective, and so thrift and frugality are essential for long-term orientation. You can see how foreign that is to American society. Slide 9 shows the United States 29 in the bottom third. Strong short-term orientation. China 118 and Hong Kong 96 show the extreme of long-term orientation. This is probably the Achilles heel of American church ministries. U.S. churches and members tend to view the world in crisis and think that they must fix it in the next year or two. This has profound effect on how we do mission. We invented short-term mission, and we love it. We have friends who like our way of doing things, West Africa and the Philippines, but vast areas of the world see things very differently. We need to examine this much more deeply and think about our ministry effectiveness. As you reflect on your ministry experience and write your case study for the paper this week, how much have you been influenced by the dominant value picture of the United States? Is this where you want to stay for the long term? As you reflect on all of this, what do you think most essential to add to your value repertoire?